11 o'clock, we will begin the Cumberland County Board of Elections meeting. And begin with a roll call, please. Is this recording, Jill?
It is.
Okay, thank you. Begin with a roll call, please, Audrey.
Commissioner Mueller.
I am here.
Commissioner Fauci.
I'm here.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
All right, we will open the floor to public comment, and I will ask that individuals keep their comments to our 3 minute time frame if possible, please. And I believe we have a few folks online. So if there is someone online that would like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature and we will call upon you. Do we have some folks interested on
Yes.
this?
Yep, we have 3 individuals. Susan Spica
Okay.
is online.
Okay, Susan Spica, if you are online, please unmute yourself, and we are in receipt of your emailed comments.
Thank you. I will be quick. So you want me to make the comment right now? Is that okay?
Sure, that'd be great.
Thank you. So first of all, I just want to say thank you. You are so busy, and I'm so grateful for all of the work that you do in this busy election season. And so I just want to say I've worked with Common Cause as part of their volunteer election protection program for a lot of years. And I plan to be at the Shippensburg Township polling location on election day this year. And I just want to make sure that you can please make sure that the polling location and all the other ones will have ample provisional ballots that election workers will routinely offer to voters who are registered, but who might not be registered at that polling location and who cannot reasonably be expected to get to the polling location where they are registered to vote. So I received a document from the ACLU that makes clear that voters who vote by provisional ballot outside of their precinct will, if all other requirements are met, have their ballot partially accepted, meaning for the statewide and federal races where they're eligible. So the local or district-based races won't count, obviously, because they're not eligible to vote in that place. But if they vote provisional, they should be able to vote provisionally in any Pennsylvania precinct for statewide and federal offices and have that part counted. And it would just be really helpful if the judges of elections would just be willing to provide a provisional ballot to any voter who asks for it, as opposed to kind of sometimes giving them a hard time about it, because it's really not within the scope of a judge of elections duties to determine eligibility for voting. If someone asks for a provisional ballot, it would be very nice if they could just be given to people. So that is my public comment. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
Yep. I'm going to hop off as a panelist and then just come back in as a regular person. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Next up, is there someone else, Audrey, that would be interested in making public comment?
Yes, we have CM online.
CM, if you are online and would like to unmute yourself to make a public comment, please feel free to do so.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. Sorry, that took a second. So my name's Carolyn Macharaju. I'm from Kemp Hill, and just have a number of questions here. So bear with me. The first part I would think is directed to Bethany probably, and the second part maybe to you commissioners. So the first part is the run-of-the-mill questions. I was going to ask Bethany the numbers of mail-in applications, and if that number is final at this point, and also if they are caught up in terms of sending out the mail-in ballots.
She'll be addressing all of that, Carolyn. Thank you. Yes,
thank you. Okay,
well,
let me continue. Okay, thank you. And then in light of the news out of Lancaster County, has there been any unusually large drops of mail-in ballots at one time, or anything unusual for that matter? And then has there been any fraudulent attempted applications at all? And then this question, well, if someone is listed as inactive on the voter rolls, and they go to the polls, will they be in that little book that the polling staff has? And will they have to show a photo ID? Kind of just wondering that. And then this one's probably directed to the commissioners more so. I wanted to ask about the curing policy. is this a new policy or directive? And who decided that? Was that voted on? And is that something that is a public document? Is there a directive on that that the public can see? And also, if this curing thing is new and this is happening, considering there's a number of mail-in ballots, a record number, for this election, I'm wondering how many staff will be part of the counting process, or whatever that's called, pre-canvassing process, whatever you call it. And will you have any volunteers, or is it all staff? And if they're going to be volunteers, because it's time intensive work. So sorry, I hope you got all that. Those are my questions.
I think a lot of that will be addressed in the comments, but thank you for your comments. And just as a matter of course, we do not cure ballots in Cumberland County. So there is no policy that can be shared on that, as we do not do that. So if there's another individual that would like to make a comment, who do we have up next, Audrey?
The last comment is Anita.
Anita? Okay, Anita, it's your 3 minutes. Are you there, Anita?
Hello?
Hello, okay, there, now we hear you.
You can hear me
Go ahead.
now?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Good morning. My name is Anita Burton. I want to make a very brief comment about the October 24th, 2024 meeting. Ms. Fauci, I have met you once while we were both working together on Election Day. Excuse me. We spent many hours together that day and you were very nice. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You were very nice. On October 24th, 24, I saw a completely different person. I was sad for you, and I was very sad for Mr. Eichelberger. I have no idea what the county rules are or are not, and that part really isn't important to me. Ms. Fauci, you lost control of yourself and your emotions on this day. And as women, we need to do better, because as women, we are the first to call out a man if they dare speak to us the way that you spoke to Mr. Eichelberger. Anyway, I voted for Mr. Eichelberger, and on October 24th, I had a lot of emotions, and I still do, over what I watched. He was cursed at, but what was worse for me was the way Ms. Fauci mocked him and made fun of him. The mocking really did hurt my heart. And it was upsetting to me also that Ms. Nieder did nothing to stop it. Regardless of the issues or the disagreements, or what may or may not happen behind closed doors, I believe we can all agree that the type of bullying and demeaning behavior we all witnessed on October 24th is never okay. Thank you for letting me speak.
All right. Now we will, are there any other folks? Is there anyone online?
I just want to say something. My name is not Fauci. I think that was directed at me, but that's not my last name. Okay.
Audrey, is there anyone else on by phone that would like to make a comment? Is there anyone on a phone line?
Showing that. And no.
Okay. Okay, perfect. We will switch to the folks in the room. If there's anyone in the room that would like to make public comment.
Okay.
Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Commissioner Nieder. Yeah, John Cobb, Lemoyne. 2 items. One is what an amazing job Bethany and team and the commissioners did in getting all of those early voters voted. I heard from so many people that the commissioners were there handing out, helping with the processes and interfacing with the folks in the parking lot and all those sorts of things. And we certainly had none of the issues that we've heard about in other counties, that it was a clean process. And I'm sure that the Bureau of Elections was swamped, because who knew there was going to be such an early voting turnout? Well, I didn't. I was just as shocked as perhaps you were, but you all did it incredibly well, and congratulations. The second item is really part of item 2 from Caroline Maharaju's questions regarding what we've heard about in York and Lancaster and Luzerne counties with the 2,500 potentially fraudulent ballots and those sorts of things. And Monroe County said that it was an organization called Field and Media Corporation is the ones that submitted those. And really the question follows right in suit. Have we seen anything like that in Cumberland County? And if we have, is the Bureau of Elections required by the Department of State to issue ballots to all registrations regardless of suspicion? And if we are, did we? That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cobb, I'm sure that Bethany is prepared to address those issues. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes,
Okay,
James Evans, Carlisle Borough. Thank you again. I'll piggyback on Mr. Cobb's. Thank you for the Bureau of Elections for all the hard work they did for the early voting and people requesting absentee ballots and that whole process. Thanks for all that hard work and then leading up to the election. Thank you. The question, I just have a couple of questions. I think some of it's already been addressed here, but the other question I have is, did you detect any suspicious activity during early voting or in the lead up to early voting? And did any voters report suspicious activity? Did you see anything that would question, things going on up at the Rittner campus during early voting? The second question I have is, I know there are different machines compared to what we have in the county, but national reporting is saying that in some states, passwords to the voting machines were left online, which is a vulnerability from a cyber perspective. Is there any threat to the machines in Cumberland County that we use? I know they're not supposed to be online, but if passwords were left to voting machines nationally, does that create a vulnerability in the voting machines we have here in Cumberland County and potentially across the state? Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Evans. Anyone else would like to make comments here today? Yes.
So I'm just Rebecca Klein, Carlisle Borough also. And with the number of questions about fraudulent voting and so on, and I understand that what happened in Lancaster County is upsetting to people, but I would like to report on what I've read about the actual incidents of fraudulent voting. And I'll take the state of Georgia as my example. So Brad Raffensperger looked at the records of over 8 million voters in the state of Georgia. And what he found were 20 people who were undocumented and therefore not legal voters. And I'd just like to point out that that's 0.000025%. What I would ask is that we not try to make the perfect the enemy of the good, because it occurs to me that if you have a system that's working that well, and by the way, 9 of them actually voted, their votes were canceled. 18 were Republicans, 2 were Democrats, just to add a little bit of detail. So in not making the perfect, what I mean by not making the perfect the enemy of the good is that if you have a system that is working that well, and when people say vanishingly small numbers, I think you really have to put the math behind it. You have to say 0.000025 so that people understand that vanishingly small doesn't just mean a few or more than I might think or whatever. Because you could institute a new system and it could actually not work as well as that. That's the risk that you take. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
One more comment. Or is it already closed?
It's not closed yet, but please be brief. Mr.
Yeah,
Evans.
the brief comment is thank you for that information. That's great. But with that being said, regardless of that small number, there's races that have been won by 1 vote. So that those 20 votes could influence a race. So you strive for perfection in the system because you don't want to disenfranchise voters because of that such minute number 1 vote could be the difference of that candidate sitting at the table here or anywhere else. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I take your point, but just for accuracy's sake, it was 9 people who voted, not 20.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? We can move on then to the approval for the meeting minutes of the October 1st meeting. Someone would like to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Next up, discussion and approval of the pool of poll workers for the 2024 presidential election.
You have to say that 5 times.
I
fast,
know.
right?
Poll of poll.
So this is a group of poll workers who are willing and do go to any precinct where we need them on election day. So they're just great to have. They will go anywhere in the county. They're super helpful. They fill in the gaps when we lose people last minute. So we would just need your approval on this list, please.
Okay, and Bethany, they've all received the training and it worked in prior elections. And if they are slated to go to a location, they will be sworn in at that location once they arrive.
Election morning.
Election morning, okay. God forbid we have someone that gets ill in the middle of the day and we have to send somebody at another time, they would still be sworn in
Yes.
before beginning their shift at wherever location they would be sent.
Yes.
Okay. Those are all the questions I had. Does anyone have any other questions of Bethany at this time?
I move for approval of the polls.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, ma'am. Next up, we have the discussion and approval for the rules of observers for November 5th.
These are rules that have been in place for several years for observers at the Bureau of Elections. Given the attention that the upcoming election has generated, I recommended that this item be placed on the board's agenda so that these rules would be in the public forum, so to speak. And of course, if the board has any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we're looking for a motion to approve those rules, please.
Does anyone have any questions of Bethany related to the rules of election as proposed?
So these were posted along with the agenda prior to the meetings.
Yes.
Public had a chance to. Okay.
I would hope they've been reviewed, but yes, maybe they're available.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now what we have all been waiting for, the director update.
Yes. Okay, I will start with what I have first. So the total number of mail-in and absentee ballots that were sent were 48,223. That number may go up slightly based on any other military or overseas applications we receive. Okay. The number of Democratic applications, 21,574, Republican, 19,716, and other parties, 6,933. As of today, we have received back 38,288. Democratic ballots, 17,396, Democratic voters, Republican, 16,036, other 4,856. Our return rate so far is 79%.
Cool, that's good.
Yeah. Registration stats, because we do certify those before each election. We have a total number of registered voters in the county of 187,335. 63,312 of those are Democrats, 91,480 are Republicans, and 32,543 are other parties. And just wanted to remind everybody, we have extra ballot drop-off hours this Saturday from 9 to 1. Okay, to drop off your ballots only. And then election day, we are open for ballot drop-off at our office from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So the same time that the polls are open. For anyone who needs to drop off their ballot, those ballots must be in our office by 8 p.m. Okay.
One question, that
Yeah.
return rate, you say 79%. Do we know how that stacks up vis-a-vis other counties?
I'm not sure. I did see an article in the newspaper recently where it did list percentages, but we are always in the higher percent return rate for counties in our area.
I think it was related to York County being very low on the return rate in the 60s. At that time, we had reported about 70 some percent, so it's picked up, which is great.
And it always does these last few days, I don't know if it's just why that is, but we always get just a mass amount of people the last couple of days dropping off their ballots or in the mail. I don't know if that's just procrastination on everyone's part or what, but yeah, so I expect us to be well into the 80s. By election day.
At that point in time, Gary, it appeared that most other surrounding counties were well into the 70s as well, other than York, which was the exception, according to that article.
Any questions on this thing? Okay. And then what do you want me to address of the public comment, or what do you?
Yeah, I think whatever you feel comfortable with. I really believe that we need to make make people aware if we have seen any abnormalities or there seems, I have had folks reach out to me and a number of people have said, well, you need to look for applications by this group. Well, it's not like they're coming in on letterhead. They can come in on any form of an application. But I do believe what we've seen, that these things have been identified in other counties, is that the process is working to some of the points that were made here today. So Bethany, if there is anything that you would like to add related to anything that your office has done to assure as best as we can the accuracy of the process that we put things through.
So, I mean, to start out, what group sent it or didn't send it or who may have put it on letterhead or may not or whatever, the bottom line is our system worked in this process. That's why they were caught, because all voter registrations have to be put into the SURE system and then be approved by either the driver's license, PennDOT's administration, or the Social Security Administration. So if you put John P. Smith on an application and you put 1, 2, 3, 4 as the last 4 digits of the Social Security, that registration is not going to be approved. All of the things must match: name, date of birth, addresses. I mean, there's a slew of things that each voter registration goes through before it's approved in our system. So this to me shows that we had bad actors trying to do something and they were caught. Now they weren't caught, but their bad acting was caught. And so, yes, do we have applications that have not been approved by voters that are trying to register? Yes. Do I know if it's from that group? I don't. But again, they will not be approved. They will not be registered voters. And none of those voters will get a ballot, because if you're not a registered voter, you can't apply for a ballot. I mean, you can try, but we'll see you're not registered and we wouldn't accept it. Also, when you apply for a ballot, it goes through an additional check again, where your name, date of birth, last 4 of your social, driver's license number must be approved and must be checked again before you're issued a ballot. So to me, I was happy to see this, that these people were being caught, that this was being caught and our system was doing what it was supposed to do. And like I said, here, we have not had this mass amount, but yes, we have had rejected voter registrations. We always do. That happens, but again, they're rejected. They're not registered.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And the inactive question, I've explained this multiple times before, but I'll do it again. If a voter is inactive when they go to their polling location to vote, there'll be a watermark in the poll book that says inactive, affirmation required. Then before they are able to vote that day, they must fill out an affirmation stating their name, their address, all of their information, and they must sign this saying all of those things that affirmations say in legal terms that Jen understands better than I do, before they are able to vote, and then we will process that affirmation after the election. So that's what happens to anyone who's inactive in the poll book. Okay. And you address the curing. I think that's everything, unless I missed something.
I believe that those were the notes that I had.
Okay.
Thank you. And while we are narrowing in on this election, I did want to just take a moment and thank folks for their engagement in the process. It wasn't always perfect, but we did. Bethany and her staff did an amazing job, I believe, in ushering people through a newer process for us at the location that was the on-demand ballot providing for those. So I just a big kudos to your staff, as hard as they work. That was only one step, and now we gear up in a host of other ways to bring this to a accurate, complete closure. And I also wanted to thank the participants. I've appreciated your thoughtful and respectful comments. While we don't always agree on our interpretation of our state guidance or the law, I've appreciated the civility in which you brought your comments forward. So thank you to those folks. I think that's it. Bethany?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of Bethany at this time?
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that's it then. There is a request for executive session regarding pending litigation and security that will follow immediately this meeting. Is there any other business to come before the Board of Elections at this time? It appears not. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
And we are adjourned.